I'm going to show you guys some OP partner ability skills that if you don't know about, you need to be using them now. Alright, what's good guys? So we are at my underground base here. I have collected 5 of the best pals in the entire game. And it's not because the pals themselves, but because their partner abilities. They're crazy OP. So the pals we have here are Catress, Astegon, Felbat, Direhowl, and Shroomer. So if you've already been using these 5 pals, you can go ahead and skip this. But if you haven't been using any of these pals or only 1 or 2 of them, they are definitely the most OP in the game. So we are going to start with Catress, and I'm going to show you guys this one is probably the most OP in the game. So with Catress, if we go look at her partner ability, or him depending on which gender you got, it is while fighting together, neutral pals drop far more items when defeated. Now this might not sound that crazy or that OP, but I'm going to show you guys here in just a second how much it does, and that means dog coins will drop way more frequently. So that you might be asking yourself, how will I get more dog coins from this? Memogs are actually neutral type pals, so when you kill a Memog with your Catress out by your side like this, it'll drop double, triple, 5 times as many dog coins. So I'm about to go show you guys right now that in action and how crazy OP it is. So I like to go right over here. I've shown this on my videos a bunch of times. At chords 350.25, this little volcano region has a ton of Memogs, so we're going to go find some. Now you might be wondering why I'm doing Catress first. That is because dog coins make all the rest of your pals even better. I'm going to go more in detail with that later on, but getting dog coins first in order to upgrade the rest of your pals will make these OP abilities even more OP. So I'm going to show you more about what I'm talking about with that after this, but we have to go find some Memogs first, and I can show you guys the huge difference between using Catress and not using Catress. It'll definitely save you a ton of time. So I'm going to go find some real quick. I have my spawns turned up. That's why there's so many pals everywhere. So hopefully we can find a ton of Memogs really fast so I can show you an incredible difference. Alright, we have found some Memogs, so let's test this theory out. First of all, we're going to kill them without my Catress out or even in my inventory. Let me get rid of some of these stragglers over here. And let's see how many dog coins we get from this. So we're not expecting too many since this is just us killing him normally. And look at that, we only get 48 dog coins. Okay, so let's see if there's any difference between having our Catress out and him fighting with us versus just doing it normally. Alright, our Catress is out. Let's see how many we get from this Memog right here. Oh wow, we got 100 from that one. Okay, let's go over and see that. So that's already double what we got from the first one. I think we only got 48 from the first one. Let's see this one. Yeah, we got 80 from this one. Okay, so it varies. It's not a set amount, but it seems like you get about double the dog coins from every Memog you kill with your Catress out. I wish there were more Memogs or that they were a little bit easier to find so we can test this like 100 times, but they're actually pretty hard to find even in the best areas. So we got a total of 228 dog coins there. I believe we only got 48 from the first one without our Catress, and we get about double that when we're using Catress. So, you know, it's not the craziest difference of all time, but if you're going dog coin hunting, you're definitely going to want to use the Catress here, and it'll make it at the very least 2 times as fast or 2 times easier to get dog coins, which, you know, isn't the most insane 10x, 5x, but it's still pretty good in my opinion. So I would definitely suggest using this. Catresses are really easy to get and catch. And you can actually get a Catress right here at level 23 at chords 240 minus 320. So it's about at the right side of the map right here at the Island Hopper Coast. It's only level 23, so you can go and get Catress from there if you want it, and it'll make dog coin hunting plus any other neutral items that you want to get a lot easier. However, these next few pals are a lot more exciting, and they do a lot more than just giving you more dog coins, but that is still really useful if you're dog coin hunting, which a lot of people should be doing, because I'll show you right now how that can make your pals a lot more OP. Alright, so if you guys haven't noticed, all of my pals over here that I'm showing you are actually 4-star pals. So you can see right here, right under their profile picture, they have all of their stars filled in. This is what it looks like when they don't have any stars filled in. And if you want to do that, you're going to need right here the concentrated all-purpose pal extracts. You can also condense your pals too to make them like this, but it's definitely easier to just buy these and put them on your pals, and you get those with dog coins. So that is why I put Catress first, because she's definitely the most important to the rest of these pals, and you can upgrade the rest of these pals to make their abilities even better. Now, this next one, Astegon, is definitely my favorite, and I think he might be the most overpowered of them all, and he's definitely the most fun of them all. Now, before we get into that, you guys might notice I have a bunch of bonsai trees over there. I think the total count is 300 right now. We are adding a new bonsai tree to this island near my base for every single subscriber we get until we hit 20k. So if you want to be a part of my base permanently and have your own little bonsai tree over here, make sure to sub up if you want. However, let's go look at the Astegon and its partner ability and how crazy OP it is. So if you guys see, its partner skill says it increases the damage dealt to ores, but this is just the page 1 of this story, and it gets even more overpowered. First of all, what you're going to need to do is get a lightning strike ability. You can find this at pretty much any one of the skill fruit trees, and then if you have enough stuff, if possible, you're also going to want to rank up your Astegon star level. That makes it even better. So let's go out in the wild and find some places with a ton of ores, and I can show you guys how crazy this ability is. Alright, so we are at one of my old bases. I actually made a full video on this in my base video. This has a ton of ores, so we're going to test out the Astegon ability here and see how crazy it is. So I'm just going to use my lightning strike ability here with all of these ores, and look at that. Every single ore just get instantly demolished. So this is definitely way faster than mining. Look how many materials we're getting, how much ore we're getting. Jeez Louise, over 1,000 ore plus a bunch of wood and fiber and stone and everything. That stuff isn't important, but over 1,000 ore just from one ability. And this works on sulfur, this works on coal, this works on stone, and I didn't even know, but apparently it works on trees too. So you can get a whole bunch of ore extremely fast. Let's use this ability one more time over here with the coal, and boom, it just destroys every single ore nearby. It's even destroying parts of my old base, which I'm not thrilled about, but we got to do what we got to do to show off this amazing ability. There wasn't that many ores in this location, so we're only going to get a few more 100 coal, but I don't think it has any like range or any amount of limited availability. It can just destroy any amount of ores in its little circle, and it is just crazy OP, and it regens super fast too. Look at that, it regens in like 25 seconds. So if you're ever in desperate need of some ore or some wood or whatever, and you don't feel like sitting there and waiting for your pals to mine it at home, you can just go ahead and use that ability, and look, it's destroying all of my stuff too. Not only does it mine the ore, but look how much of my stuff is just on the ground. It's just destroying everything. So that took us about 30 seconds probably, or 1 minute for everything. Bro, my base is completely destroyed. Okay, fair warning, don't use this around any of your bases, because this will destroy everything. Let's see how much ore we got in 1 minute. We got 300 coal, almost 2,000 ore, and about 400 wood, plus a bunch of other like scraps like fiber and stone and stuff, which we don't really want. But that is crazy for just a minute over here. And that is how OP that ability is. And I'm sure it has other uses too. If you're on like a multiplayer server and you want to destroy people's bases, or you want to, like, I don't know, try and get into areas you're not supposed to be in, anything like that. Because I didn't know how much damage it actually did. Like, that just ripped apart half of my base. Holy cow. Now that one is my favorite, but next up, let's actually do the Direhowl, because this one really isn't that exciting. I just kind of want to get it out of the way. I've shown this on my channel a few times, and it's kind of a glitch, but this is for all the newer players. If you guys remember when you first started playing the game, it is just really annoying to try and get around, and it takes forever. But if you just saw right there, there is a nice little glitch with the Direhowl, where if you jump right when you use the Mouse 1 ability or the Fierce Feint ability, you can actually go super far, and it makes it a lot easier to travel as a new player. So this one really isn't anything crazy. I just wanted to show this one off just because it's still in the game and it's not supposed to be, and it makes traveling around as a new player a lot easier. So let me show you guys one more time. This is just going to be a quick 30-second one. Nothing is really too impressive about this one, but it is kind of like, you know, one of my favorites. So this is how it's supposed to look like. Bro, why is everything destroying my bases? Jeez Louise, it's about to destroy some of your guys' bonsai trees. But this is how it's supposed to look like normally. That's how far it gets you. But if you jump right after you use the ability, look at that, holy cow, it like launches you. So if you're a new player trying to get around spawn or anything like that, this is definitely what you want to use, and it makes traveling a lot easier. So I don't know if any of you guys are on like new playthroughs or anything, but before you get a flying pal or before you get a fast pal to ride on, it is just so annoying to get around. So that will definitely help a lot of new players. But let's move on to some of the better ones, or some of the useful ones for higher level people, including the Felbat. Now, I made an entire video on this Felbat recently, so if you guys have already seen this, you can skip this, but this is the most OP one of them all by far. So what I'm going to do to show you guys its crazy ability is, like I said, I already did this in my last video, but we're going to go to one of the towers and we're going to see how crazy it is. This is more of like a PvP ability. I'll show you guys what it does in just a second in case you don't know. But what it basically does is the more damage you do, the more it heals you. So while fighting together, it grants the player and the pal the life steal effect. So while you're doing any sort of damage, it's just going to be healing you the entire time, and it is crazy overpowered, like way too strong. I'll show you guys right now. It's like impossible to die with it. So I'm actually going to take off my shield just so you guys can see I'm taking some damage. Come on, Celine, do a little bit more damage, and that's why I can show everybody how crazy it is. You can see I have a ton of damage done, but if we put out our Felbat, take a look at my health bar, guys. The more damage I do, the more we actually regen, and I'm regenning health more, like faster than he can even do damage. So I'm pretty much invincible while this pal is out, and my pal isn't taking any damage right now, so it's kind of hard to show it, but it actually regens my pal too. So we're both pretty much invincible while I'm using this. And guys, this is without my shield on too. So imagine how overpowered this will be if I actually had my shield on also. It would be like impossible to die. So take a peek at my health bar while I'm doing this much damage. It's just going up and up and up and up. And this is with me just standing out in the open tanking his attacks, just so I can show you guys how much you regen. Like if I was playing this like actually serious, like hiding behind these pillars and everything and doing damage and like dodging his attacks, I would almost never die and almost never take any damage. And look at my Felbat, guys. He is regenning too. He's taking no damage. It is just a crazy overpowered duo. And if you're a new kind of player and you've been having trouble with these tower bosses, I would definitely recommend you go get yourself a Felbat, because this makes the game like literally 100 times easier. Like I can't die while I'm using this pal, and he also cannot die because we're both just gaining health with every single damage point we're doing. So I mean, it pretty much just makes you invincible. Like I've have enough videos on this already. I don't need to sit here and explain it to you guys 1,000 times, but while you're using this pal, you can pretty much tank any amount of damage you want. And look at your health bar after you start doing damage. It just goes up and up and up super fast. And remember, guys, you don't even have to be in like the front lines of the battle, because the more damage your pal does, that heals you too. So you can just hide in the corner if you start getting low or whatever. But if you have your shield on like I didn't, you pretty much will never get low and you'll just never die. So this kind of ruins the game by making it a little bit too easy. But the more damage you do, the more damage your pal does. I'm sure you guys get the gist already. The more you heal. So it is just, it needs to be nerfed, to be honest. I'm pretty sure the Palworld devs have actually said something about this, and this is just really unfairly balanced. So if you don't have a Felbat, go ahead and pick yourselves up one, because its pal ability is just broke. After that easy boss, we'll go ahead and look at our last pal, which is a base pal and isn't too exciting like the rest of these, but it still makes a huge difference. So the next pal we're going to look at is Shroomer, and his partner ability is actually pretty interesting. The last pal we're going to look at, and I actually don't have his partner skill saddle, so let me go make that real quick. Alright, we have acquired the Shroomer saddle. So what this does, if we put it on, it actually makes our sand value of allies at the base decrease. So it makes them pretty much work harder and longer without getting hurt, without getting tired, without just being super annoying. And the good thing about this is I'm pretty sure it stacks up to a certain amount too. So there's no real way for me to like actually test this unless I sat here forever and like showed you the effect on the other pals. But if you have them out working at your base, they'll pretty much do the same thing as like a good piece of food. So if you have good food in your box, and let's just say like 4 or 5 of these Shroomers out at your base, they pretty much will never get tired, they'll never get hurt, and they'll never have the bad sand effects, or you know, they won't never get hurt, but it'll decrease it a ton. So it's definitely worth to have a bunch of these Shroomers out at your base. They do stack up to a certain amount. I don't know what's going on here, but it's not like unlimited stacking. So I think 4 or 5 is probably the max you can have out at your base, and it will just make everything a lot easier. So this is just more of like a convenient pal to have out, and I would definitely recommend having it out at your base. Again, I wish I could like show you guys how good they are, but without like sitting here for hours and hours watching the pals work, it actually like won't do anything. So you're just going to have to trust me or read the description or test it out yourself. But it is definitely a lot easier to have these guys out at your base than it is to not have them out, and it makes the rest of your pals so much better. So let me know if you guys didn't know about any of these pals and their saddles and their abilities. And remember, if you want your very own bonsai tree at my base permanently, go ahead and sub up if you want. We have a ton of more videos planned with glitches, tips, guides, all that kind of stuff coming up very soon.